Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid. So you can see their temperatures are still brisk enough this morning to where I can see my breath. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but I'm in the direct sunlight, so it actually feels very warm. We're going to do another reading from October nights, even though it's morning, and here's why. Not only are the October nights wonderful, not only are the October afternoons wonderful, but the October mornings are just glorious as well. And I was up early today, like most days, and I just thought, why not? I'm going to let you know up front. Of course, you can tell by the time length of the video. This is probably the shortest story in the book. And it's one that was told on the channel a little more than 2 years ago. But I do think it's worth retelling because it does... and I don't doubt the woman who shared this story with us. It involves the paranormal, the supernatural, and it involves love, which is something we're big on around here. My wife, myself, our son, and our real friends. Love. We don't focus on the hate. We don't focus on the negative. We don't allow it in our lives. And we keep people like that out of our lives. And it's amazing how powerful love can be. And this is a story that shows love transcending beyond the grave. Secondly, we've kind of had some nefarious individuals insinuate they might be stopping by here recently, and these individuals are negative, and they do have self-centered intentions. So what we've done is we've put some security cameras up in several locations, and I have retrieved those cameras this morning, and I will be putting footage together because I do believe we caught some movement, and that video will be posted a little bit later today. So make sure to check back. Now, they've been run off by something that is quite difficult to explain. So if you do hear anything behind me or if you see anything behind me, like that tree knock, it's probably him, her, it, or they. Okay? So we are on October 17th right now. And again, even though this story was told a couple of years ago, most of you have not heard it because this was back during the how to plant corn and green beans days. And when I would tell a story like this, I would get slammed. And then, of course, like I've said before, we finally just got past that and started creating the content on this channel we want to create. You might see a video one day about splitting firewood, and then the next you might see a video about Bigfoot Sasquatch. The next day you might see a video about how to cook corn in a microwave, and then the next day you might see a video about killer clowns from outer space. Wasn't that a great movie? Cult classic. All right, so this one is called The Sun is Blinding Me. Revenge from Beyond the Grave, okay? This story is short. This story is sweet. This story is true. One of the most chilling stories I've ever heard in my life came not from PJ on top of Fork Mountain back in Appalachistan during my youth, but after I'd reached middle age, and it came by way of a stranger in the comments section of a video on our YouTube channel, Homesteading Off the Grid. The first video we ever recorded and published that went viral was a video titled, How to Get Rid of an Annoying Neighbor with a Crayon. If you're reading this anthology, it's highly likely that you saw that video, and it's how you came to know me in the first place. A woman who simply went by the YouTube user ID, There Is Grace, who we will refer to as Mrs. G in this story, commented on that video, and she told me the following story, which she swore was true, and which I have every reason to believe her. And I have every reason to believe her. I've got to go back and correct my little reading mistakes because so many of you are reading along with me in the book. Mrs. G and her husband, Mr. G, lived in New York. Not the city, but the state. And out in the country, a very rural area, much like where my homestead is located in central Virginia. Mr. and Mrs. G had 2 daughters, teens I believe, and an old blue tick hound, a male named Rex. Rex and Mr. G were the best of friends. How could they have a common bond? Or how could they not have a common bond? 2 males living with all those females? They had to be close. The G family had an annoying neighbor. We'll call him Rocky. Not because he was a boxer, but because he loved to throw rocks at Rex at night if the dog made any sort of sound or not. Sadly, Mr. G's mother died one fall in the month of October, and the family had to head upstate to attend the funeral. They were gone for a few days and a couple of nights. They'd made arrangements for a friend to come see to Rex in their absence, which that friend did. However, when the G family got home, they found dozens upon dozens of rocks in their yard where Rocky had pelted Rex with rocks the whole time the G family had been gone. Mrs. G was livid, not just because she loved the dog and because it had been a very mean and inhumane thing to do, but because she loved her husband so much and she knew how much the dog meant to him. Mrs. G shared in her story with me that there were times when she'd put a doggy sweater on Rex just before Mr. G got home from work. And when he did get home from work, he saw Rex in his cute little doggy sweater. He would light up like a Christmas tree, and the two of them would hang out for the rest of the evening. Mrs. G said she felt she was owed an apology, and Mr. G told her to calm down and that he would go talk to Rocky, which he did. Rocky offered no apology, and he'd simply B-worded and complained about how Rex had barked and howled the whole time the family had been away for the funeral. Mr. G told Mrs. G to forget about it and to simply ignore the past. Time went on, and sadly, about a year later, Mr. G passed away. The family mourned, and they continued moving forward. Then one day, a short while after, Rocky came knocking at Mrs. G's door. He told her he wanted to apologize for all the rocks that he'd thrown at the family's dog, and that it had to stop. Then stop throwing them, Mrs. G said, matter-of-factly. That's not what I mean, Rocky said. I have. That's not what has to stop. What has to stop? Mrs. G asked, confused. The rocks on the hood of my car, Rocky said. As it turned out, after Mr. G had gone over to Rocky's and confronted him about all the rocks he'd thrown at Rex more than a year before, and Rocky had refused to apologize, Rocky continued to throw rocks at Rex, and at some point, either late at night or very early the following morning, Mr. G would collect the rocks that Rocky had thrown at his best friend Rex, and he would lay them on the hood of Rocky's car. And the thing of it was, even after Mr. G had passed, it continued. Rocky woke up every morning with rocks placed on the hood of his car. But my husband passed away a few weeks ago, Mrs. G told Rocky when he'd told her all of this. I know, Rocky said, and I'm sorry for your loss. And I feel like a jerk. And I've stopped throwing the rocks, but I feel like I had to come give you the apology that you always felt you deserved and that you did deserve, but which I never gave, or there's going to be rocks on the hood of my car every day for the rest of my life. Thank you, Mrs. G said, and Rocky left, and he stayed straight, never throwing any more rocks at Rex. And he never found another rock on the hood of his car again. The end. So, I don't doubt that story. A lot of folks, I remember back when they heard it the first time, shared similar stories. If you have a story like that, feel free to share it in the comment section. You know, here's the thing about being open-minded to things that we might not completely understand, and having a thirst or a desire to learn about things you don't already know. And that is that the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. And that's why a lot of folks, I think, are so close-minded about just about everything. The paranormal, the potential that Bigfoot Sasquatch might exist and actually live in the woods behind not just my house, but a lot of folks' homes. Extraterrestrial life. And then you can even boil it down to simple matters such as, and you know, this is so strange. I was in the middle of kind of like a lengthy ramble there after telling you guys, if you have similar experiences, share them with us. And my phone is fully charged and it just stopped. And it turned off, and it's well, it's a year old, but that's not old. So it appears as if even in the beautiful October mornings, there are things up here that may or may not be explanatory. So with that said, I'm going to go check the footage from the security cams and see what we got. I'll upload it later if there is anything. So thanks for being here for another reading of October Nights, 31 Tales for the Halloween season. Available on Amazon in print and Kindle. The link is in the description box below, excuse me. If you can't afford the book, I know times are hard because of COVID-19 and a lot of folks struggle you know, even if it's not in regard to COVID-19, just, you know, life's about ups and downs. And I've been there, you know, sometimes it rains money, and then sometimes it's like a drought for a very extended period of time, and I almost lose everything I have. So if you can't afford the book, just keep coming back to the channel and hear me read the stories to you. Okay, tomorrow's October 18th is a very special story to me. It's called PJ's Cabin. I think you'll really enjoy that. So see you next time for more.